Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day 2 of the MIPCube talks. I am Louisa, and I'm going to be your moderator for this morning's session, which is all about engaging with audiences, a topic very near and dear to my heart. And I'm not going to take too much of your time. You need to know that after every speaker, that speaker will be available out in the Meet the Speakers area. So if you want to ask more questions than you have time to in the Q&A, please try not to dogpile them on stage, but follow them outside and you'll have plenty of time to talk to them. First speaker of the day is Dan Biddle from Twitter, and take it away, Dan.
Hello. Thank you very much for coming along early morning. Cultivating your audience with Twitter. Ooh, I'm on. I realise now that that's actually a very strange thing to say, cultivating. I got an image of vegetables and farmlands and stuff like that. And if anything I'm trying to get across is that, and I think everybody knows now, that the last thing your audience is a row of vegetables just having stuff thrown at them. This is very much an active audience. And so I'd rather think about things as being activating your audience with Twitter, engaging, that word. But anyway, so I'm going to run through a few examples of how we sort of work with audiences, how Twitter can really be effective to engage with your audience, to reach out, to get them doing more for your shows, to bring them to your shows, and to talk more about your shows. So just a bit of background at the moment. Twitter has 200 million users globally. We have 1 billion tweets running through Twitter every 2.5 days. It's quite a lot of tweets. Most of those are me. 60% of Twitter users globally access Twitter via mobile. That actually goes up to 80% when you get to the UK. We're very mobile-centric in the UK, but it gives you that sense, that context that when people talk about the second screen and that sort of second device in your hand, Twitter, a lot of people are using mobile, using tablet to access Twitter while they're watching television. And 40% of tweets in the UK during peak time television hours are about television. So I think it's fair to say that Twitter is the room that we're watching television in. Our CEO, Dick Costello, talks about Twitter as being the global town square. It's where news breaks. It's where people share their interests, share their stories. I think it's fair to say that if you imagine that giant town square, when you're watching television, Twitter has rolled up the biggest sofa you could possibly imagine, and everyone is sitting on it together. And you could be talking and tweeting along with your favorite show and talk to your friend. You could be talking to someone who you've connected with at a conference like MIP. You could be talking to someone like Rio Ferdinand or Simon Cowell about EastEnders or The X Factor or whatever. It's what brings us all together. It's the room in which we all watch television. And so a little example of that. I don't know if anybody is aware of Dogging Tales, which was on Channel 4 last week. Does anybody know what dogging is? Yes. That's a brave audience that cries out that at 9:30 on a morning. Well, very good. Not so many. Dogging is essentially a pastime whereby consenting adults go into car parks and go into the woods in their cars and have sex and let other people watch them. So Channel 4 ran a documentary, a narratorless documentary, very much a hidden camera and fly-on-the-wall observation, featuring the likes of Terry and his girlfriend here. And Twitter went mad, absolutely mad. This was on at like 10 o'clock at night till 11:15. It way outdid its slot average over the time for Channel 4 at that time, and had a massive amount of Twitter conversation, essentially because of people like Terry. And so you can see that through the course of this, we had a massive number of celebrities talking about it as well. Again, thinking about that massive sofa, the ability to connect and share a television watching experience with everybody. You've got Greg James here, Radio 1 DJ and presenter. I can't cope with this. Be hard pushed to find anything funnier than this. You've got Shane McGuigan. And what you notice is also in these tweets, the tweets that happened around this show in particular, were the number of people who were saying, what is going on Twitter? And what is everybody talking about that I have to start looking? I have to turn off the news to watch what everyone's talking about on Twitter, because my feed is filled with people talking about Dogging Tales. I have to stop watching Celebrity Juice, which is one of the most tweeted about shows in the UK, hugely popular on ITV2. People are turning over from that because the stuff coming out on Twitter about Dogging Tales was so compelling, so amusing. David Walliams, big celebrity in the UK, reaching out to another celebrity, Alan Carr, just spotted you and your partner Dogging Tales. Those masks fool no one. So Alan Carr was actually tweeting along. He was watching on +1, on the +1 channel, which was an hour later, and he tweeted along with that as well. So again, so many people went and watched it on +1 afterwards because of so much conversation that had happened. Alan Carr watching that. And this tweet here is fantastic, because Lynx spends millions on advertising, then this happens. Dogging tells. What's this? Lynx being the deodorant for men. This happens. The Les effect. This man, during his various pieces to camera, talking about why he goes dogging and how he has 19 children, why I couldn't tell you, and he, during this, pulls up a can of Lynx deodorant and says, "This is the best stuff. You know, this is knockout when you go out there." And so at this point, people are going, "Whoa, Lynx is for doggers, okay." So went down and bought me some immediately. So Lynx, though, Lynx were there. Lynx were watching the show. And Lynx, rather than go, "Whoa," they tweet out, "Good choice of fragrance over on Channel 4, guaranteed to get a bit more attention, whatever the situation." So Lynx has always played with that sort of attitude of being slightly irreverent, slightly on the, on the side of like the ladies will chase you. And so it's this sort of sense of that, the fun. And they didn't stop there. Lynx, the next day, post this. We all have that T-shirt, right? Crisis meetings all morning, thanks to Les in Dogging Tales last night. We have concluded there is no crisis. But there's a lot of fun, and that's a lot of responsiveness. And the key there is that Lynx was there. Lynx was in the show, and Lynx also found the jokes after the show. And they made something of that position. It could have been, Les is a bit of, where are we going? But no, this is something we can make something out of. The same way that Oreo made such great hay out of the blackout during the Super Bowl, and then they tweeted out a thing saying you can still dunk in the dark, which got 16,000 retweets and got a huge amount of press for being so quick, so on it, so of the time and of the moment. That's what Twitter is on TV. So Twitter provides that opportunity to reach out and join your audience. It's to connect with them, to activate them, to get them sort of cheerleading and to be part with them. None do it better, really, than Ant and Dec, who are sort of a duo that do a lot of entertainment shows in the UK. Britain's Got Talent, and they've recently reversioned their favourite Saturday Night Takeaway. Great Saturday Night TV. Huge sort of family audience, a lot of people talking about it, get a lot of tweets going. Ant and Dec did a whole segment on Twitter in the first show, and they had people singing tweets, they had people doing a lot of stuff with Twitter. What they also do, and they do this with I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here as well, is they realise that they can get the audience to do stuff before the show. They can get people talking about the show before the show because they see the value in that. They know if people are talking about the show beforehand, they're getting worked up, they're getting excited about the show beforehand, and in their Twitter feeds and their friend of friends' Twitter feeds, their show is appearing all through Saturday and beyond. What they do with Saturday Night Takeaway, whenever they come out on stage, at the top of the stage, it's a very sort of entertainment-centric thing. They come up at the top, not unlike this, and they pull a pose. So Ant and Dec throw the pose out to the audience. Can you give us the pose we should pull tonight? So every week they've said this call to action. Tell us on Twitter, show us your, send us a picture, do that. So this one got through, and that night, Ant and Dec throw the pose, bust a move. And so that's a really great way of engaging with the audience, and they do that across. So as I say, talking about activation of the audience, the opportunity, they're all there talking, they're all talking about the show. And what can you do with that? What can you do with more? So, basic tricks to the trade are to let them know that you're there. Let them know that the hashtag is the campfire around which everybody tells stories. It's the grouping effect where everybody can go and say, I'm part of this conversation. It's effective for you as a broadcaster, as a program maker, to be able to see what everyone is saying about your particular show. So The Voice here, The Voice UK, it's also running in France at the same time, and there's a US version, so they have to sort of push not necessarily the natural hashtag, The Voice UK, to get people to follow it. And they put up @The Voice UK to say, we're on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. So there you see, every time that The Voice UK is put up Aston on the show, more mentions, more use of that during the show. And the key is as well to get your username out there, get your username up. The hashtag is very prevalent on TV. You don't see the @username so often, which is strange because really, if you get people to follow you, then that's a relationship that you can take with you across the week, across the hammock, and then across the weeks and the months, and then beyond. You can use it again and again with other shows that are relevant to that people. So always let people know that you're on Twitter so they can follow you. So what, in terms of bringing in the conversation, live shows, the Ant and Dec stuff and the voice, it's live, what can we do? How can you bring Twitter into, how can you bring the audience on Twitter into and become more engaged with the show if it's pre-recorded? Because there's no agency there, is there? There's nothing you can do. Well, increasingly you'll see BBC 3, ITV, 2, E4 start to use the live continuity breaks between shows to actually pull in what the audience has been talking about. This is for Towie.
OMG, I know, Kirk's back. Oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. So tonight, after the show, Gemma is on the Twitter takeover for you. Alex tweeted Arj taking relationship advice from One Direction. Kieran is wearing his ski goggles to school tomorrow, and Millie needs a pair in her life.
So you see, pulling through the audience conversation in live continuity, they have that opportunity. That happens at the ad breaks. So just after the ad breaks, the sponsor message runs, and then that message runs. And at the beginning of each show, they say, tweet us, let us know what you're thinking about the show. So put a pin in that for a moment and think about how you might be able to do something more with that. That's just pulling in the chat and pulling in the enthusiasm and the excitement. How could you turn that into something more around the show? How could you turn that into something maybe more editorially relevant to the show, as part of the show, to bring that agency in? Well, Hugh's Fish Fight, which is a Channel 4 show, it's the second series of this particular show, was all about a campaign around saving the ocean, saving the seas. Fish stocks are very low. Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall there, sort of a chef who started out and has become more of a campaigner around ecological issues around food and sustainability. So in this particular show, the issue was the fact that prawns, farmed prawns, are being fed unsustainable food made from unsustainable fish. It's like an Ouroboros, everybody's eating everything and whatever. Eiclimor by tat. And so you essentially end up with this problem that he has where he's trying to get to talk on the show, on the documentary, to Sainsbury's, Morrison's and others about what they're feeding their prawns. So to get more activation on his audience, to get more sort of weight behind this campaign on the show, he ran with this.
Now, I'm hoping that if you fish fighters out there get involved too, we might actually get some answers on this issue.
You can bet representatives of these supermarkets are watching this show right now, waiting to see what we're going to say about them. Well, if they won't talk to me, maybe they'll talk to you. So let's get tweeting. What are your prawns eating? And hashtag fishfight. You can send that to @UKTesco, @Morrison's News, and @Cooperative Food. We started sending tweets on this earlier today, but now it's time to get serious. Let's get fish fight trending during this commercial break.
Cut to commercial. Commercials run. After the commercials run, there's a resolve where they say, you've done 16,000 tweets in 2 minutes of commercial to those 3 supermarkets, all about this campaign, all about this show. That actually happens over the course of that day. There were 41,000 plus tweets using that hashtag around that show. But they only had a 2-minute window to actually do that activation. But nevertheless, the whole campaign was enlarged, but the show was made more active. The show was given more sense of this is what people are doing. People care about this. People are passionate about this. So another thing to do, talent live tweeting is another great way of engaging with the audience. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to have to start hammering through my slides a bit. This is the live lounge where people are tweeting along with loads and loads of shows. At CBS are doing Tweet Week. That was last week, where essentially they see the value in having more and more celebrities, more and more talent from the shows on that giant sofa, encouraging that interaction, because they know that people will feel more connected to the show and talk about the show more if they feel that there's a sense of like the stars of the show are there. The stars are engaged and care. The stars are watching. So you'll see this as well around My Mad Fat Diary and Channel 4 and various others, BBC One, all the channels in the UK and in the US do this. Quite often a way of engaging the audience, getting people to start talking about your show before the show. You run a Twitter Q&A with one of the stars during that. This is 9 to 10 p.m., which was before the show on E4, which is My Mad Fat Diary. They had 5,000 tweets around the show before the show even started. So this sort of elision to, you've already got the audience worked up. You've got everybody talking about the show before you go into the actual TX. BBC Question Time, once again, this is a political debate program which looks live, feels live, but isn't live. It's recorded about an hour, 2 hours beforehand. But there's a huge amount of Twitter engagement around the show. So BBC have created this second account called BBC Extra Guest, which every week they give over to a political commentator, journalist, whoever, from various sort of leanings, left, right, middle, and that person takes over and live tweets through the show, live with the large amount of tweets that happen around the show, adding value to that, adding more opinion. It's like having that live extra panelist that they have. They think of it as the extra panelist. So just as a quick thought, this is thinking about what you can learn from your audience using Twitter, the way that Twitter works, and the way that you can watch it and see what is happening and where you might be more effective and be most effective if you only have a limited amount of resources and time to put into Twitter during a show. This is taken. This is a graph. This is a company called Second Sync who do these graphs and a lot of data analysis around television shows in the UK. And as you can see, there is this spike in this movie Taken, which is the Liam Neeson, I will kill everybody type of film. And essentially that spike there is where people quote that sort of line, which is, I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will kill you. And so everybody's tweeted that at that moment in time. On a different month, a different channel, different time, different audience probably, because who wants, too much Neeson is never enough, I know, but you might say to yourself, that pattern is there again. So you can see that that is what people do in that program. And time again, you can watch your programs, watch what happens around Twitter, and get to know what your audience is doing and thinking and talking about during your shows. BBC Nature, therefore, and you can start adding to that. You can, if you're in the edit around your shows, you're making a fantastic program, you edit producer or your director looking at the way that that works, and you can think to yourself, that bit there, we're making a program, we're not going to change it or do whatever, but that bit there is what everyone is going to tweet about. That's the sweet spot. That's the tweet spot. So at that point, most companies now, most broadcast and productions, are getting a piece of asset, something like a picture or a piece of video, something that's compelling that will be shared again and again on Twitter, because they know people are going to clip it out and do it themselves anyway, so you should be first to market. And so they put that out there. This from Africa, she won't abandon her baby, which is a hugely moving moment in the show where a baby elephant dies of starvation and dehydration. Everyone was talking about it. You had to wring out Twitter from the tears. So a last thought here is the way that you might be taking that to the next stage is instant replays. I'll talk through this because I've run out of time. But essentially what ESPN are doing with college football are taking the clips, the points at which there are large decisions made during games and matches. They clip it out immediately, stick it into a tweet it out. So it's therefore shareable. This key moment in the game is shareable and spreadable. Again, because they know that someone else is going to do it if they don't. They might as well be first to market. They might as well have their brand attached to this piece of great content. So what do they do? The next step, how to monetize. Everyone, how are we going to make some money out of this? What do we do with this sort of this thing on Twitter? Well, ESPN have partnered up with Ford, using that concept of clipping out, getting the piece of content, getting that decision, that major play out there quickly as possible to be shared, and Ford are a part of that.
Everybody's talking about the new Ford Fusion. We're thanking people personally. Follow Ford Fusion on Twitter.
So they've pre-boarded, and as you can see, Ford are promoting that tweet. So we have promoted tweets where the sponsors can pay for that tweet to arrive in more targeted timelines, and Ford are doing that. So Ford are associated with the great content. Your great content is being spread. More people are seeing that. It's getting out there further. So I'm going to skip over the Vine videos. Vine is our 6-second clip, which is a great way of getting quick video bits out to Twitter as well. And just to leave you with the thought that you should just be thinking about programming Twitter as you program your channel. There are patterns, as I say, looking at that Taken slide. There are patterns of activity around it. There are conversations that happen after. Beforehand, like the Ant and Dec stuff, like the Q&As, get people talking about it beforehand. Get people engaged in your show beforehand. Give them teasers and give them flock to unlock moments, extras. Then during it, amplify the tweets, those key moments in the show, bring them out, be the first to market with it, first to be shared, so your message spreads, you gather the followers. Play voting games, the polling, the live polling, activating people, and afterwards, recaps, go, again, flock to unlock. Would you like to see extra information? Then retweet this. If we get 150 retweets, 1,000 retweets, however many, and then drive to VOD. You know what everyone's been talking about today? You can go and watch it again on our site. Here it is. It's on iPlayer, it's on ITV Player, it's wherever it is. Drive people back, activate people. So, and remember, you're never too far away from something weird. Thank you very much.